In the 2021 NBA Draft, the Oklahoma City Thunder will have the 6th pick. For the Thunder, it's been a pretty long time since they've had a pick this high due to the fact that over the last decade, the Thunder have always been a team that makes the playoffs because there was a stretch where they were led by Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, and for a bit, James Harden. Then when Durant and Harden left, they had Paul George to team up with Russell Westbrook to lead the team to the postseason. Then after they lost both of those guys, they had Chris Paul to lead them to the postseason. So Thunder really haven't been in a situation like this for a long time, and with the 6th pick, there are multiple prospects that I could see the Thunder selecting. So in today's video, I'll be talking about the 3 most likely prospects that I think the Thunder will draft in this year's draft, along with the discussion and the chance that the Thunder trade for the number 1 pick, since that has been rumored a lot. Before we get into the video, I ask you to drop a like on this video as it does help my channel grow. Subscribe to my channel if you want weekly NBA content and touch my goal of 1,500 subscribers. Comment this video, start a conversation with me as I do respond to all of my comments, and play that intro. But before we get into the prospects, I'm going to discuss the chance of the Oklahoma City Thunder trading for the number 1 pick, since they have been one of the more rumored teams to potentially complete that trade. If we're being honest, if the Oklahoma City Thunder really want to, they can easily trade for the number 1 pick. They could probably trade for anything in the entire league that's available if they really wanted to, due to the fact that they just have so much assets and things like that. And if they were going to trade for the number 1 pick, I think the trade would be Oklahoma gets the number 1 pick and the Pistons get the number 6 pick in this year's draft along with the 16th pick, and they also get the Clippers 2022 and 2024 first round pick along with the Phoenix Suns 2022 first round pick. This would be a good move for the Pistons because they would still get a top 10 draft pick in this year's draft, meaning they could still select a player with star potential, and then with the 16th pick they could potentially get another solid player, and then they have 3 first round picks in future drafts that can definitely be used to select good prospects in the future, or be used to make trades or anything like that. And you have to realize that Kawhi Leonard might leave the Clippers this year, meaning the Clippers might not be as good as you would think, and even if Kawhi stays in there as good as you actually think, they're still going to be the 25th pick and things like that, and you could definitely get some steals in that area. For the Thunder, it looks like they have given up on trying to be a team that makes the playoffs and things like that, and they're currently in the position to where they can give up multiple first round picks and not be in a deficit, since they literally have the most first round picks till 2027 in the whole NBA. And getting the number 1 pick definitely isn't a guarantee for them. And with the number 1 pick this year, they probably would select Cade Cunningham, and he's a guy who I think has superstar potential. And as much as I like SGA and I think he's amazing, and I think he has potential to be a top 20 or maybe even top 15 player in the NBA, to be a real title contender, you have to have a top 10 player, top 8 player in the NBA type guy on your team. And if they select Cade Cunningham, I do believe he can be that type of player. So I think it would work out for both teams. Also, a duo of Cade and SGA would be really nice. The first prospect I think the Oklahoma City Thunder could potentially select with the 6th pick is Jalen Suggs of Gonzaga. Suggs is a 6'4" point guard who just plays the game very well. He's a very tough guard who will bring a lot of leadership to this team. Suggs has elite athleticism and he has a great feel when attacking the basket, as he has a very good ability to handle the ball, and when you add that in with his athleticism, it's honestly really scary. He often blows by defenders, and Suggs is one of the better passers in this draft. He honestly might be the best passer, as he's always looking for his teammates. He might even be a pass first point guard if you want to classify him as that. I don't know if he's a generational passer or anything like that, but he definitely is a good one. He has an assortment of moves when it comes to finishing at the rim due to his athleticism, and he actually has the ability to finesse. He's also a very good rebounder for his height. I always see him attacking the glass for boards. Suggs has the ability to play the shooting guard position due to how well he moves off the ball. Despite him only being 6'4", Suggs is a very good help defender due to his IQ and his ability to read and react to defense. Defensively, he can guard either guard spot due to his athleticism, effort, and IQ. He's also very good at stealing the ball and forcing turnovers. To voice some of his weaknesses, it's the fact that he's a pretty inconsistent 3-point shooter and a free throw shooter. He has a pretty good form though, so it's not unrealistic to see him turn into a good shooter in the NBA. Just in college, he was a really inconsistent one. He also turns the ball over a lot of times, and on defense, sometimes he loses sight of his man. You might have also heard it that like an NBA player said that he didn't think Suggs was the best player on the Gonzaga team, because especially in the March Madness tournament, it seemed like Suggs got really passive. And honestly, I think Suggs would be a really good fit on the Thunder team because he could play the point guard position. You could have Shai Gilgeous play the shooting guard position. He's also a guy who I think has all-star potential, so they could have one of the better young backcourts in the NBA going into the future. Suggs is a player who I think could be somewhat like Chris Paul. Obviously, he probably won't be as good as Chris Paul, but he's a very good leader, and he could inspire this team and be the heart and the soul and help them reach the postseason and things like that. But honestly, I think there's a realistic chance that Suggs is not going to be available at this point in the draft. I think he'll either be selected as early as the 4th pick by the Raptors, and in my opinion, if he fell down to the 6th pick, like to the Thunder, they would definitely immediately draft him. But regardless, I still think he would be a really good fit on this team, and if he's available, I do think they will draft him. The second prospect I think the Oklahoma City Thunder might potentially select with the 6th pick in the draft is Jonathan Kuminga, who's a 6'7", 220-pound forward who's a physical beast. He has freakish athleticism, strength, and body control. He really stands out on the defensive side of the floor as he uses his length, strength, and quickness to affect other forwards. He's also a guy who you would put on the opposing team's best perimeter scorer, but not only is he good on the defensive side of the floor, he's pretty good on the offensive side of the floor as he has pretty good handles for his size, and he can also create his own shot at a decent level. He's also very good at attacking the rim due to his athleticism. He's also a decent passer, and he finishes very well in transition. He's also a decent shooter, and he's good at attacking mismatches in the post and things like that. To point out some of his weaknesses is the fact that he's a very inconsistent three-point shooter. You could argue he's not even a good one since he did shoot 24% from 3 this season. He also apparently needs to work a bit more on his post moves and things like that and stop relying on just his athleticism and length. He also has the ability to make really good passes, but sometimes he struggles with decision making. So Kuminga clearly looks like a really good prospect, and a lot of people like to compare him to Jaylen Brown when he was coming to the league. If I'm being honest, I do see that comparison. I think Jonathan would fit perfectly on this team since he seems like a guy who get easier shots from SGA, and he can help him out on the defensive side of the floor and the offensive side of the floor. I think he could be a solid defender in the future, and that way they wouldn't have to worry about getting a guy who could play some defense, because that's actually very important in the NBA if you didn't know. I also think that Kuminga has all-star potential, and having a duo of SGA and Kuminga, and two of them being stars, would definitely be a huge positive. I think Kuminga has more star potential than Suggs, but to be honest, I think Kuminga won't be available by now. I think either the Toronto Raptors or the Orlando Magic will select him by the time the Thunder are ready to select him, but I think he definitely would be a good fit if they were able to somehow get him. But there is a realistic chance that they will get him, because every year we at least see one prospect get selected way earlier than he's expected to, and I think there's a decent chance that happens this year. The next prospect the Oklahoma City Thunder could potentially select with the 6th pick in the draft is Keon Johnson. Johnson's a 6'5", 186-pound guard who's a freakish athlete. I believe he has the highest vertical jump in NBA draft history or something like that. He had a 48.5-inch vertical, so he's very athletic. He's a high-level defender with amazing reflexes, and he actually has really fast lateral quickness and speed to stay in front of defenders. He attacks the rim very well and often puts defenders in a position to where they actually have to either foul him or just let him score. He has a great feel for the angles. He also has a solid handle that helps him get around the defense, and in transition, he's always wanting to make highlight plays. We're going to talk about some of his weaknesses. It's the fact that he's not really a good shooter, as he shot 27% from 3 in his time at college. He also only averaged 11 points in college, which isn't an amazing sign. He also apparently is not the most gifted scorer, since a lot of times when he needs a bucket, he relies on post-ups to score when he needs to score, which isn't the worst thing, but for a 6'5" skinny guard, you would hope that's not the case, since in the NBA he's going to be doing that way less. He also apparently has the tendencies to dribble into the teeth of defense and throw up bad shots or make a bad pass. He also turns the ball over a lot due to his loose handles, and when it comes to help defense and things like that, he's not a plus defender. To be honest, I think there's a decent chance Keon Johnson goes to the Thunder, because I don't necessarily have the star potential that other prospects have. Even prospects behind him, in my opinion, have a better chance of becoming a star than he does, like Davion Mitchell or something something, but I think he could be an excellent role player who plays fantastic defense, and hopefully he could shoot the ball at a decent level. And with like the amount of picks the Thunder have, maybe they feel like they don't necessarily need to go out for a prospect who could potentially be a star but could also be a potential bust, and maybe they just want to go with a guy who can at least be a really good role player and hopefully a good starter to pair alongside SGA. So I do think there's a realistic chance that the Thunder select Keon Johnson, and it definitely wouldn't and shouldn't be like a bad pick. But to conclude the video, if I had to guess who the Thunder will select with their 6th pick, I would predict they select Keon Johnson. This is due to the fact that I doubt whether or not Jalen Suggs or Jonathan Kuminga will be available at this point. But if any of them are, the Thunder will for sure choose one of those two. But I feel like the Thunder will want to select Keon Johnson because he seems like a guy who has a lot of potential with his crazy athleticism. I think there's a chance they draft someone different like Davion Mitchell, Scotty Barnes, Corey Kispert, but I think they will select Keon Johnson over all of those guys. And I don't know why he's so underrated, but I definitely don't think it's a terrible move for the Thunder to draft him. Anyways, guys, that's it for the video. Let me know who you think the Thunder are going to draft with their 6th pick. Drop a like on this video to help my channel grow. Subscribe to my channel if you want more content like this, and touch my goal of 1,500 subscribers. Comment as list of conversation as I do respond to every single one of my comments, and I'm out.